Hello, my name is Ocie Taylor. I was born in DeRidder, Louisiana, and raised in DeRidder, Louisiana, and San Francisco, California. I have resided in San Francisco for the last approximately 50 years. Today, I would like to share a story about growing up in both Louisiana and San Francisco. I take my race serious, but I'm wondering if I took my race serious enough and contribute to the hard issues of racism and equality, or did I help? I think what I did is I became a covert by moving to California. You know what we say, out of sight, out of mind. And I forgot what had happened to me living in the Jim Crow South. I'm of dark complexion, as you can see, and I was always called names in Louisiana, Puddin' Black, Ocie Black, to name a couple. There was many others. But I still remember the day in 1968 when I decided to take my life and decide that it was at a social on the stage in the auditorium at my segregated high school. They played a song by James Brown that I had never heard, and it was called Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud. Oh, did I dance on that song on that stage that afternoon? And everybody said, "Oh, see, say it loud. I'm Black and I'm proud." And I never looked back. What I decided is that I was not going to let the color of my skin regulate me, whether I was in San Francisco or California. Being a covert is subtle racism. If you have enough money in San Francisco, you can go wherever you want to go. No one is going to look at you strange or say anything to you because you have money to pay to go wherever you want. There were no Jim Crow signs, colored only, white only. And in Louisiana, totally the opposite. We were not able to go in the front of restaurants. We always lived with the Jim Crow signs, colored only, white only. But again, I would return to Louisiana to go back to school. Now I think I'm in 10th grade. And the Civil Rights Act has finally reached my hometown. And this is our opportunity to, number one, integrate the schools, and number two, go in the front door of restaurants. I was so excited. I was thinking things had changed, and now Louisiana is going to be kind of like San Francisco, minus the hot weather. So I have a best friend and cousin named Shalette Crawford. She and I are still best friends and cousins today. I called her up and we set out to go and claim our civil rights by going into the front door of the cafe that was located just one block from our house. My house was located on Tully and 2nd Street, and this cafe was on Tully and East 1st Street. So Shalette and I went into the front of the restaurant. We'd never been into the front of this restaurant. I had been around back many times and received a greasy cheeseburger out the back door. But this time we were in the front. So I can remember a man coming up to us. I'm expecting that he's going to ask us if we could have a seat. They had red booths, and not too attractive, and the floor was some kind of ugly color. But the worst part was the man said to us, I would not be able to serve you today, right now, but if you come back later this evening, I may be able to help you. So Shalette and I looked at each other, and I think we were both thinking the same thing, that this restaurant is so ugly. What have we been waiting for? So we left out of the restaurant, discouraged, but we kept going further downtown to find a restaurant that would give us a menu and serve us because we had the right to go in the front door. So we went down, walked down East First Street, past all the different merchants, and we saw the City Bank restaurant. And this is where the dignitaries from our town and parish ate their lunch. And it's like, we're going to front here. We know we couldn't afford lunch there, but we were going to buy some gum. So that was the plan, to go and buy some gum. As we walked in the front door, you could never see in this restaurant because they had the blinds always very tight. And when you walked in, the air conditioning felt so good. Mind you, this was the summertime. Actually, it was spring. It was April. So I walked up to the counter and I said, I would like to buy some gum. And the lady stammered and almost stuttered. And she said, I don't have any gum. And I saw some lifesavers. So I put my nickel on the counter and I took the lifesavers and we tally-ho through the door. So kind of like our tally up that day so far for our civil rights had been one half. We had been able to buy something, but we hadn't been able to sit down and eat. So we continued through the town because this was our, what should I call it? This is what we did every day. We went downtown to visit court, and then we would go to the bakery, to Mr. Richley's, and get half off bakery goods and eat them all before we got home. But this day, we weren't looking to do our regular thing right now. We was looking for a restaurant. And there was one right across from the post office, actually right behind the post office. And DeRidder, the buildings are like Gothic looking. So the post office and the jail is right on the same corner. And then there's the courthouse, all in the same plaza. So we could see through the alley of sorts that there was a counter in this restaurant. So it's like, this is where we'll go. So we walked through the front door and we saw 2 chairs at the counter and 2 stools, I beg your pardon. And we sat on our stools and this cute Caucasian waitress came up and gave us 2 menus. And what a relief, we had arrived. But it lasted not long. Someone tapped both of us on our shoulders, seemed simultaneously. It was a kind of scrubby looking big white man. And I want to do my Southern accent for you. He says, if you girls will just put the menus down and go right back through the front door that you came in, make a left, make another left, and you will see a door, and you go through that door and you're big to order anything you want. So Shalette and I are sitting there. Now we know what has happened. They're not going to serve us. They're going to send us back to coloreds only. So we looked at each other, we put the menu down, and we started to the door. We did not plan this. When we got to the door, we both hiked up our skirts and patted our ass at the man, and we ran down the street. Okay, so we had 2 losses and a half. We had gotten in the front door, though. So we had to do our normal thing at the courthouse before we go to get the treats. And what we would do is we would go inside the white only bathroom. It was always beautiful, marble. We would open the restroom doors with our feet and flush the toilets. And then we would go into court. Court started, I think, at 3:30 in the afternoon. And we would go to court so we could see who in our small town had gotten in trouble. On this particular day, and you'll see why it's significant, it was Miss Emma and Mr. Ivy. I can remember it like it was yesterday. They had been in a fight, so they were arrested. And these people lived in our neighborhood, so oh boy, did we have gossip. And we started changing seats inside the court. And the judge, from his, what do you call it, what the judge said up high, said down to us, he said, if you girls do not stop moving around, I'm going to put you out of my court. So we were kind of in an excited mood anyway. I would say trying to claim these civil rights had been an all day activity. So we just slipped out of the courtroom, making more noise, getting out of the seat, and we went back to the restroom. Of course, we drank water out of the white only fountain because their water was cold. We never drank out the colored only fountain. And we went back into the restrooms and started our routine. And we got ready to leave and we touched the door and it was locked. Oh my God. It was like Shalette and I looked at each other and we started tugging on the door. It was like no give. We knew there was someone on the other side of that door. So across the street from the white only bathroom was a grocery store called Red and White. So a few minutes had passed. And I don't know what went through Shalette's mind, but I know what went through mine. It was just fear, total fear. Because we were actually breaking the law, being in a white only bathroom. So one of us pushed the other one up to the window and we started screaming, help, help, please let us out, help, help. We didn't get any help from anyone at the grocery store. But we went back to the door and it was open. And we were just like so relieved. Of course, you would think we would run out of there as fast as we could, but I think we still sneaked another sip of water. And on this particular day when I got home, I had to be home before 5 because my mom always had to soak her feet after she got off work. And I needed to make her water. But this day when I got home, my mother was soaking her feet already. And I thought, wow, okay. So my mother said, by the way, I didn't know my mother worked in a restaurant. I didn't know what she did. She just used to say, I'm on my feet all day. So my mother said to me and Shalette, you will not believe what happened at that restaurant today. And Shalette and I, our eyes got big as saucers. But we just, I could still see myself now just standing like a statue. Oh, what, Mom? 2 little pissy tail gals came in there and patted their ass at that boss. So we thought this was another one of her. She knew we did it, and this is going to be a slow, agonizing corporal punishment evening. Lo and behold, she didn't even know it had been us. And the truth is, I never told her until after I had had my own child in the 90s. Because she was that kind of mother. She was from the North. She didn't understand what Jim Crow was all about. She just followed the rules. Well, today as I sit here telling my story, I'm not special. I feel ashamed. I feel that I just deserted any efforts that I could have made to help the inequalities and the racial tension and what have you that's going on in this world today, especially down south. But the whole world is divided right now. And we're also going through the first pandemic in over a century. And it's so amazing to see how one person can divide a whole nation of people, and it still boils back down to the old racism, inequalities of slavery that led into the Civil War, that ultimately led into the Jim Crow laws that plagued my state as long as I lived there. We have more to come. Thank you.